Well, hello everybody. Welcome. It's of course South African Baseball TV, where every week we take a look at what's happening in the world of baseball. Very exciting show for you tonight. We hope that you have all subscribed to the channel. If you have just tuned in, it's an absolute must that every Thursday night from 9 o'clock to 10 o'clock, or roughly 9 o'clock to 9:30, about half an hour or so, we talk about what's happening in the world of baseball in South Africa, across the provinces. We give exposure to the provinces, the regions, the clubs, the schools, and of course, all the various divisions. And to do that, we talk to baseball administrators across the board. And then, of course, we hope to speak to the players and get some of the local club results, etc. Tonight, on the show with me is the president of South African Baseball, Mr. Marc Moreau. And this is an interview that has been a long time coming because for many of you that have been following, you will know that recently South African President Moreau went to the Dominican Republic after months and months of preparation. But he'll tell us more about that. And this is, of course, this groundbreaking memorandum of agreement between South Africa and the Dominican Republic with regards to the baseball structures. Marc, welcome to South African Baseball TV. Welcome back.
Thank you very much, and nice to have me to this evening.
So, yeah, of course, not the first time for us to get you on the show, and there we go. Now, this is what we've all been waiting for. Let's start at the beginning before you tell us about the whole deal, which I know everybody's wanting to find out. But how did it start, this relationship between you and the Dominican Republic?
Basically, obviously, during the World Baseball Congress, which took place in Taiwan, we meet obviously, presidents from other national organizations. So I had a brief chat there. But effectively, this whole initiative actually came from the Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Dominican Republic. They've basically decided that they want a development program, in Africa. And they basically, obviously, baseball is in their blood. It's their passion, it's their religion, it's their DNA. They wanted to use baseball as the vehicle to start a cultural exchange program with South Africa and the rest of Africa. And we're obviously very delighted and very fortunate that, the Deputy Director of the Department of Foreign Affairs in San Domingo contacted me and asked me if we would be interested in this program. Obviously, it didn't take me too long to say yes, as the Dominican Republic is extremely well known in the baseball circles as one of the biggest exporters of baseball players into the major league setup in the States. So obviously they way ahead of us, and we could obviously learn an extreme amount of baseball knowledge and experience from them.
So did someone just come to you and say, "Here's my business card, give me a call"?
No, it's basically it was even more sort of basic than that. It was a brief email that I received from the Deputy Director of Foreign Affairs of the Dominican Republic, and obviously I responded to that. And from then on, we've had basically weekly meetings. We have Skype meetings, and the little team that he's put together with this program has just got bigger and bigger. So every Thursday we have a meeting, a Skype meeting. And, nowadays I think there's about 10 of us that actually have this meeting and to discuss, the way forward and how to develop this program.
Yeah.
And the people, attending the meeting are, the Commissioner of Baseball of the Dominican Republic, a very famous, ex-baseball player from the Dominican Republic that played in Major League Baseball. His name is Junior. And then there's, the LA Dodgers are on board, Major League Baseball, Dominican Republic are on board.
Are these all the people in your weekly meetings?
Correct. Yeah.
And was this before you actually took the trip to the Dominican Republic, or did all of this start?
This was all in the months before, to prepare and to discuss the program and how we could actually execute it. And obviously, the program for the Dominican Republic is much bigger than just baseball. Obviously, this is a development program, and they want to use baseball in South Africa as a way to develop a program and take it to the rest of Africa.
All right. So
yeah.
hang on, Mark. Before you give us all of that information, I want to paint the picture in the same way that you painted the picture for me. And there was a timeline almost of how this unfolded, and we were all listening behind the scenes to the fact that there was something going to happen in the Dominican Republic, and that you were en route to the Dominican Republic, and then you got on the airplane and off you went. Tell us a little bit about, before we talk about the baseball side of it, tell us a little bit about landing in the Dominican Republic. Were there people to receive you? What language were they speaking?
My Spanish is obviously not that good, so I'm very fortunate that most Dominicans actually speak English, because they have a very close relationship with America. So and particularly in the baseball sector, generally people speak English, when they talk baseball. And on arrival there, I was obviously greeted by two of my hosts. One is one of the directors of one of the universities, who works very closely with the professional league in the Dominican Republic. And the other person that met me at the airport was a person that runs a private academy and assists Dominican youngsters to actually play baseball in the US through a college system. And he has in excess of about 300 kids that are actually playing college baseball. So it's a terrific projects that they have there for the kids. So it's they actually met me. And
right, so you landed at the airplane at the airport. The limousine was waiting for you. And
it was a limousine. Yes, it was. It was quite easy going through passport control and things like that. I was really treated as if I was, some high society, individual.
Well, you are a high society individual. You're the president of Baseball South Africa. I would have expected the limousine.
Yeah, one would like to think that, yes.
Yeah.
but from there, they had a very full program for me. So. There was no time to go to the hotel to take a shower and rest a bit. Immediately from there, they took me to the first baseball academy. And I think at this point, I need to explain, that every major league franchise has an academy in the Dominican Republic. And when I talk about an academy, it's not a little building. It's, on the average, each academy has basically 3 to 4 full baseball fields, professional major league quality, something that we don't even have in South Africa. And every single academy have these quality fields. They have dormitories for every one of them have dormitories to accommodate about 100 players. They have physio rooms, they have gym rooms, they have psychologists, they have coaches, they have, education rooms, they have video analysis, they have batting cages. It's to die for to actually, on my first visit to the first academy, I felt like, I needed to cry, because, we could only dream of having just one of these. And here in the little island of the Dominican Republic, there are in excess of 30 of these academies, spread over just around the capital. It's an unbelievable sight, and it's a massive economy in the Dominican Republic. They were, they were actually telling me that the baseball industry is worth in excess of $400 million a year. It's massive. But you can imagine. You can imagine every academy accommodates 100 kids. There are roughly about 30 coaches in each academy. There's ground staff. They've got their own canteens. The kids live there. It's massive. You cannot imagine what this is like. And you drive along the main road, and every couple of kilometers there's an academy. From the New York Yankees to the New York Mets to the LA Dodgers.
Do those academies feed the MLB? Is that how it works?
Yeah.
My understanding is that the
Yeah.
majority of single nation countries players actually come from the Dominican Republic in the major leagues.
Yes, that's correct. Yeah, Dominican Republic have probably in excess of, I think, 100 players that play in major league franchises in the States. So they're the biggest foreign supplier of baseballers in the US. This little island, it's a population of about 11, 12 million, and they supply baseball. It's a production line, and the people there live for baseball. There's obviously not much happening on the island neither, so it's almost a desperation that people want to become pro baseballers, to go to the States and earn good money.
Let's quickly go to our chat zone, and we've got some of our regular fans in the chat zone with us, or regular followers. So we've got to say hello to some of our guests that have joined us. So Renee Bartis joins us again and says hello, JP and President Moreau. Exciting news about the Dominican Republic. That's great. Hello, Renee. Americo Juma joins us on air. Good evening, everyone. Hello, Americo. We're going to talk about you in a second, Americo, so don't go away because your ears are going to be burning. Clifton Barnes joins us and says good evening, everyone, and to you and JP, and also to the President. And we've got a question from Renee. Question for you, Marc. Are we thinking of starting academies? Perhaps it's not logistically possible to accommodate this infrastructure, but are we thinking about doing that in South Africa, perhaps on a smaller scale within the school system? I think we'll answer that question a little bit later in our discussion. Let's stick to where we're at now. So now you arrive at the airport. You're blown away by all of the academies, all the clubs. Everybody's clearly running around the streets with a baseball bat and a ball in their hand and a glove. It's obviously, it sounds like they talk about America's favorite pastime being baseball, but clearly this sounds like a staple sport within the Dominican Republic. So in the limousine, going past all the academies, going past all the clubs, where to next?
Basically, they take me directly to one of the academies, the oldest academy in the Dominican Republic, which are the LA Dodgers. They take me to this academy to introduce me to basically the general manager of the academy. And they take me around just to show me around. We had a good lunch there as well, because their canteens are like hotels, It's incredible, setups that these people have. And obviously, discussion around, how, the academy can help South African baseball, what facilities they have, and, what type of, what do we need as South African baseball? Some exchange regarding, actual baseball, etc. Yeah. So it's basically, it was the first day where we actually started talking about real baseball and about, what South African baseball needs for the future. And this is not just about players. It's about coaching. It's about umpires, scorers, physios, sports psychologists. It's a broad spectrum, because in all these academies, they have every aspect of baseball covered, So it's a question of, how do we as South African baseball, where are our needs? Where do we think our needs are? But, being honest with ourselves, we've also got to share that with them so that they can provide us with the input, as to, okay, where do they think how should we tackle, our challenges so that we can become, the Dominican Republic number 2, which is obviously, many years away, but they exceptionally determined, very excited, to do this program with South Africa. And the encouragement that you get from, everybody involved, not only in the program, but everybody that you meet there, that is, because it was big news for them. I mean, it's a major event, this program. It was much, much bigger than I possibly anticipated or even thought of. I cannot explain the importance of this event within the Dominican Republic, and also just amongst the baseball families there. It's massive, and for me as the president of South African Baseball, I think my main task is to create opportunities for the South African.
So let's pause on that now. So you've landed in the aeroplane, you've got in the limousine, you've straight to the academy. They're all gung-ho, going crazy because the president of baseball has arrived. South African baseball has just arrived in the Dominican Republic. They're visiting the academies. You've got tears rolling down your cheeks, and you're on your way now to the big meeting there because obviously you haven't done the paperwork yet. So at which stage?
From then on, obviously that was the afternoon because I arrived at about 1:30 in the afternoon. So going to the academy was the first activity. From then on, they basically took me back to the hotel. Had dinner at the hotel so I could actually finally get a bit of rest, and then they also briefed me then as to what was going to happen the next day, and this was the big surprise, because I knew that we were going to sign an agreement. I personally thought that just going to meet the Minister of Foreign Affairs and the deputy that I was dealing with, and sit in his office, sign a piece of paper, and start discussing how we're going to roll this thing out. And they did brief me and said to me, Mark, tomorrow morning, there's an official presentation and welcoming and signing event, and you'll be asked to say a few words because there will be some basically important people around, and even then, to be honest, I didn't realize the importance of that event and the how can I say the magnitude on how important this event was for them, and so within the next morning they pick me up and they take me to the Department of Foreign Affairs, and I had a quick cup of coffee with them, and just told me the timelines and things like that what was going to happen. And even then I still felt that it was just going to be a couple of people, and we were just going to sit there and chat about the agreement and sign a piece of paper, and off we go, until they usher me now into this basically this public relations hall, and where I walked in here and I see all these flags of all nationalities on board there, and the South African obviously flag behind where I had to sit, and then on the left was the Dominican, and then there was, it's incredible, and the people sitting there, JP are the deputy director of the Minister of Foreign Affairs, all the top external affairs people, the president of the Professional Dominican Baseball League, the president of Dominican Republic Baseball Federation, delegates, basically journalists. It's just a incredible experience to be part of an important event in a baseball-loving, passionate, basically totally mad about baseball, everything.
Well, that's fantastic. Wow.
I can't explain to you what the passion that is there. It is unbelievable.
Well, we're gonna go. I did show a photograph there of you in the hall that you're talking about there, and the flags behind you. So it's great to see it visually. In fact, I've got another picture. Is this where you were having coffee with the minister? Is that?
No, not at all.
All right,
this
not
particular, that was the next day. We'll get to that one.
Right. So. No, not yet. Not that one either. Okay, we're going to get to this.
That was another evening where I was invited out. Yeah.
Right. So, of course, the big purpose of going to that hall and from there was the actual signing of the MOU, the Memorandum of Agreement between South African Baseball and the Dominican Republic baseball structures. What are the primary contents? We've all seen the Memorandum of Agreement. It's been posted on social media. It's been posted on the web. Of course, Of course, at the time, all of this went viral. It was shared by the Dominican Republic. It was on the Dominican Republic's news services. That went into the States. All baseball news across the world, I think, were carrying the story. So this became a global story. But the key relationship here really is founded on the principles of what you guys put in the memorandum of agreement. What are the sort of the key components of the agreement?
Yeah, the basic agreement is really, one must obviously, read in between the lines regarding what the intention of the agreement is. On the one side, you have, this particular agreement is obviously encouraged by the Department of Foreign Affairs, and their objective is obviously to do this, cultural exchange and development with South Africa, and utilizing that to develop the rest of Africa. And they obviously also know that I'm sort of heavily involved with, African baseball, and I'm trying to encourage, baseball in Africa as much as I can. But the basic thing is to say, right, they've got knowledge, they've got experience, and they've got all this know-how on baseball. And South African baseball are the leaders of baseball in Africa. But they also realize that we are a far stretch from being in the sort of top 12 of the world baseball, so they actually want to share, all their knowledge and all their passion, with South African baseball. And in that discussion, one has to actually analyze a little bit where are we as South African baseball. Now, the background of the Dominican Republic is in many ways very similar to South Africa. They have poverty, they have townships, and yet they produce these players. So my question to them, how do you do this? Because we have obviously a much larger country, but we also have poverty, we also have townships, we have rural areas. So how do they manage to get, athletes to become top professionals in world baseball? And I think that is an answer I was looking for. And I asked them that, in my visit to the Dominican, I wanted to see this, how they developed that talent, how did they extract that talent and develop that? So part of it is to basically take what we need, and what do we need? One has to analyze where are we in international baseball, and clearly when we're playing international baseball, we have a challenge in pitching because we don't have depth in pitching. So when our kids and even our seniors go and play international baseball, we don't see the speed of baseballs, that are being thrown at them, and then when we are pitching, we don't have the depth in pitching and the speed in baseball to obviously challenge the opposition. So, and in baseball, it's very much around the pitcher. It's almost like having good bowlers in cricket. If you don't have a good pitcher and you don't have the depth, eventually they get hold of you and you lose the game. And that is very evident when we play World Cups. I mean, we can see that in our under 12 World Cups, under 15, under 18, under 23, and even in our senior baseball. We just don't have the depth in pitching. So the main focus would be to identify, okay, how do we create, depth in pitching? And obviously, I think one of your sort of callers there asked about, okay, are we planning to have an academy? And I think the answer to that is that, of course, my objective to visit Dominican Republic is to see how the academies have been created and formed. So the whole intention of this program is to see, okay, how can we develop a program, to improve South African baseball quality? Obviously, that doesn't happen with a click of a finger. It's a short, medium, long-term program, and how can we exchange? So part of the program is that we can send as many players and coaches to the Dominican Republic, okay, and attend the academies, and we can also then, they would also send coaches, and players, to South Africa. So it's a total two-way exchange.
Do you think,
and obviously
Marc,
we have much more to get out of this program than they have, but they're willing to share, and I think that's important.
Do you think that we've started ticking the box now for the next stepping stone? I mean, I still want to talk to you more about the Dominican connection and the details of that, because I think it's such a emotional story. In fact, it's so interesting to find out, that we're visiting abroad, and their arms are thrown wide open with all of the bells and whistles at a very high level. But do you think we've now started on the stepping stone to bridge the ceiling for players that potentially might in South Africa get to a national level, but then perhaps are stuck at that ceiling, or even at a club level, players are not sure where they're going to go to next? Now the opportunity is, well, if you're doing well here, or even if you're not doing well, you can learn to do well. You have an opportunity to potentially visit one of the best baseball countries in the world and develop.
I think it's much more than that, JP. I think one actually must obviously think out of the box of what could happen here. I think the first one is, obviously we want to learn as much as possible from them from an elite point of view. But remember, with their sort of Dominican structure, where you also have townships and poverty around, they have the experience on how to do this, and so there's a development part of this, but there's also the elite part of that. So both these have to obviously work in tandem, because from our side, from a South African baseball, one of our main focus areas is obviously development and transformation. So there's the development part of it as well. It's not just the elite, but obviously, to encourage the development part, you need heroes. So these two have to work in tandem to create the heroes, so that that our youngsters want to be those future heroes. So but so one has to actually think that first of all, that in the Dominican Republic you have these major league franchises that have there's 30, 40 academies, but then you also have private academies there. So the system
just doesn't stop.
Actually drives itself. It doesn't stop.
It doesn't stop. It's the endless baseball machine.
Yeah, and I wanted to know, at what age do the kids start going into academies? And you obviously hear of the challenges that they have, because education is a bit of a big issue, in the baseball family there, because the kids are so much into trying to become pro baseballers, from a very young age, that education comes second, So, and there's only a certain percentage of the kids that actually make it, So, they go through their young life with very little education, because they're into academies and trying to become a pro, and then at the age of 18, they don't get signed, and they've actually got nothing, and it's a challenge in South Africa as well, where some of our top players, have been signed, between the age of 16 and 18, and, after a few years, they don't make it, and then they get released, they come back, and some of them, have lost, education, because, it's never been built into that. So they have their challenges with the kids that stay behind. But I mean, it's a machine. It's a production line.
So we've now discussed some of the elements within your visit there. Let's quickly look at some of the practical examples for the way forward, because the MOU talks about the potential for pitchers and batters to visit there, and for them to do the exchange program. Are you anticipating that over the next year or two, our players here will then start getting an opportunity to visit the Dominican Republic shores?
Yeah, obviously it's not just for me to decide that. I mean, I can only establish, the connection and thing. It's our coaching framework that obviously have to determine all that. But the basic idea is that within the next 6 months, we would have established a program, and that we would like to obviously send some of our players and coaches there during school holidays, and they can spend as long as they want there, and that's part of the agreement.
So
but there's obviously much more than that, JP. One must actually think that, in the Dominican Republic, they also have, in this small country that is not that rich, in GDP, etc., they have probably the second best professional baseball league. And, I wanted to learn how do they do that, because obviously for us to drive baseball forward, we've got to, obviously, the intention is to try and at least start a semi-professional league, with a franchise system. So they have a summer league and then they have a winter league. And the winter league is obviously outside the Major League Baseball league. But the players that are Dominicans are allowed to play in the Dominican professional league. And they're big earners there, and, I was fortunate enough, to be invited at the time where they had the playoffs, of their winter league. So, I was able to attend 2 of the 7 games of their playoffs. And I mean, the quality of baseball there is, it's major league quality for sure, because most of the players are playing in the States, and the crowd, the passion, it's you've got to be there to appreciate the passion there.
I want to come back to the baseball side of it in a second, but I don't want to waste the photographs that you sent us. Just tell us a little bit about the pictures that I'm going to bring up on screen here. So, Firstly, there's one here. Yeah, this looks like you're getting a medal.
Yep. So, basically, this is I was fortunate to. I must just say it, because I just need to explain that the ambassador of the Dominican Republic in South Africa, Raimundo de Abrigo, he was basically my main host there. So I was exceptionally fortunate. Now I'll come back to that picture. That the ambassador was actually also the ambassador of the Dominican Republic in Paris for many years.
Right.
And he was also in the Air Force. And while I was there, the ambassador, basically, took me out for dinner just about every evening, and then he had some very strong connections with the Air Force. And the Major General had heard about all this and about, me being there, and so I was invited together with the ambassador to attend a special dinner with the Major General, and and after dinner, this is the dinner. I mean, it was an incredible experience there. That was the ambassador sitting next to me there, and we sort of got a little bit of a medal afterwards, and I had to sign the visitor's book, etc. But I mean, just the experience, the hospitality, the passion, the respect that they have for baseball. And obviously I was very fortunate that I was representing South Africa, and I was just part of that. Now this gentleman here is basically the president of the professional league in the Dominican Republic. So the first evening that I attended one of the playoff matches, we first had a meeting with the president there, and we were talking. He was very interested to hear about South African baseball and how we are structured, and he wanted to, again, the part of the out of the box thinking is that it would be possible for some of our players potentially to go to the Dominican Republic and actually play, and if they're good enough, they could be recruited into one of the franchises. So one must actually think totally out of the box, for our coaches, our players, our physios, our scorers, our umpires, it's open, and it's for us to create this program and the desire to want to benefit from this program,
It's quickly to talk to some of our guests, Marc. Firstly, to Jonathan Viljoen, who in fact was supposed to join you on the show tonight, but I thought let's bump him over to next week, because we want to know what's happening with Mandela Bay and the Eastern Cape and all the activity there. So, John, if you're still watching us, of course, Jono was quite funny last week when Dale Feldman was on the show with us. So Jono, yes, you're booked for next week. Paddy van Niekerk has joined us as well. He says, "Evening, guys." And then okay, so this one takes a little bit of work from my side, Mark, because there's a Hector Paulino on the line with us, and Hector, we hope that you're still watching. This is where it becomes risky because my Spanish isn't all that good. So I'm going to read it directly off the chat group. It says Platano Power Dodo. Right, so not really sure what that means, but we're hoping that it's clean language, and we say to Hector, hello if you're still watching.
Yeah.
And then Hamid Boomgard joins us well and says, hello, evening all. Folks, if you are watching right now and you've got any questions for Mark or any comments that you want to share, please just post it in the chat zone. We'll be happy to take a look at it. Mark, so let's get back to this. I mean, we can start wrapping it up now because I do want to ask you still some of the local activities while we've got this opportunity to talk to you. What's the next steps now for you? Clearly the Dominican Republic is locked up in terms of that relationship. What comes next now?
Okay, well, you mean regarding the Dominican Republic?
Well, I don't know. I suppose, I mean, for the players or moms or dads that are potentially watching right now, they'll be thinking, okay, where am I going to get my child in baseball? Or maybe there's a coach watching right now and he's thinking, well, this is great. I'd like to see how this opportunity works for me. So, yeah, I know that we're not asking you necessarily to put yourself to any commitments here, but what are the kind of pictures that we are envisioning for what could happen next?
Yeah, okay. The first thing is that, Paddy van Niekerk, our Vice President Technical, who looks after, the coaches, and myself and the National Coaching Commissioner, which is Dean McKinnon, we'll be obviously having meetings in the next week or two to basically, come up with what we as South African baseball would like out of this program, and then open it up to obviously get input from, the other sort of coaches and players, because it's important to get the viewpoint of the players as well. So we'll get some of the the top players, some juniors, but also some seniors, to provide input on how they see this, this program. But effectively, in the next 6 months, we want to start rolling out, whether it's their coaches coming first to here.
So do we need to start brushing up on our Spanish? Do we all need to start taking Spanish lessons?
I think that would be a good call. And I think, to me, it's really exciting because some of our coaches, if they want to become almost professional coaches, there are opportunities for the coaches to actually be based in one of the academies, so that's one. The other one would be obviously that the players, could get signed into an academy rather than actually through a franchise. But remember that the academies are actually owned by franchises, but you also have private academies there. So there's lots of opportunities all around at all levels. But as for us to create those opportunities, and we also have, while I was there, I was fortunate enough also to be taken to one of the top private academies to see how they function, because obviously my intention is obviously to try and lure one of the franchises into South Africa to open up at least an academy. I think that was one of the questions. And if not, how can we create a private academy, to the benefit of the players and coaches for the future? Because I think once you get the first one, that will hopefully have a snowball effect and sort of create other interests.
Okay, so Renee, if you're still watching, we hope that's answered your question. Just some other guests that are watching us. Boeresig Baseball Club has joined us as we're watching and listening. Boeresig Baseball Club has their own version of Spanish, Mark. Whenever we go to Boeresig, I'm not sure if the fans are speaking Spanish or what the language is, but quite often I don't understand it. Clifford White has joined us. There's really exciting opportunity for South African baseball. Looking forward to the future. And Sadiq Sheldon has joined us. Says Salam alaikum. Hello Sadiq, nice to have you watching us as well. And all right, Mark. So I think we kind of get the picture. It's all to happen now. The foundation has been laid. The document has been signed. and we obviously wait and see what comes next. It's clearly
Yes, and I think the target for us, to get the ball rolling would be to come up with our program, share it with the Dominicans so that they can give input as well as to what our priorities are. But obviously, whatever we do, is to try and action something very quickly to get the excitement, going. So, if we can get some players, into the academies, even if it is, for school holidays or the big holidays, that's going to be fun. I mean, the opportunities are endless, JP. I'm so excited about it. I wish I was 50 years younger. I'd be having ants in my pants because I would want to get onto the baseball field.
Yeah, well, I think, Mark, it's incredible what you've done. Just to open the door alone is fantastic. I mean, the fact that we've put pen to paper with a major country like this in terms and creating these opportunities, the strategic thinking around this is, it goes without saying. The opportunity is really good. Borisov Baseball says they talk baseball. Jonathan Fillion says it's the beer on tap at Spanish, not Spanish at Borisov. So, all right, Mark, let's leave that alone now. The Dominican connection is clearly the next big thing. Unless you come up with...
It is the thing, yeah.
Well,
it's not the next big thing, it is the thing, yeah.
Well, we thought that at one stage. We used to think that everything, once we came up with all the different dynamics of things that have happened in the last year, we kept thinking something is the next thing, and then you came up with the Dominican Republic, the Dominican connection, as it's now been, the phrase has now been coined. So no, you might think it's the big thing, but we won't be surprised if tomorrow you come up with another idea.
There is another project, obviously, that has been agreed upon. But let's leave it for another evening. Everything is finalized. Yeah.
But it's great to see these opportunities because like you said, it's I think it goes without saying it. There needs to be a ceiling beyond South African baseball, and these pipelines feed these opportunities. All right, let's leave that alone for now. A couple of quick questions for you while we've got you on the line. Big event coming up in, I think, if you go to our website. In fact, if I quickly go to the southafricanbaseball.co.za website, folks, if you are watching, and I suggest all of you do, let me just quickly go there, because there's a countdown timer on our website, sabaseball.co.za. So if you're watching us right now, go to the website. On the countdown, it says to me that there is 51 days and 2 hours to go to the National Baseball Championships happening in Boksburg. Boksburg's also got their own language, Mark. But the Boksburg Cardinals is hosting the South African Baseball Championships together with Gauteng Baseball. Mark, that's also a massive one for everybody in South Africa. It's the one big event that you aim for.
Absolutely. I think it's obviously everybody gets very excited from, we start the National Baseball Championships with under 10s, which we call the friendly series, So it starts with them because they try to obviously, wear their provincial colors or district colors.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of excitement there. And obviously, there's always the potential of World Cups. Selection and things like that. So the National Baseball Championship is basically, it always takes place at the end of our main baseball season.
Yeah.
And this year it's in Gauteng. Next year it will be in a coastal area. It's fantastic opportunity. We'll also actually be fortunate enough that we'll have a Zimbabwe invitational teams also attending our National Baseball Championships. We have a women's team coming from Zimbabwe, and then I think it's an under 18, then a senior baseball. And we have invited the rest of Africa to participate as well, so we'll see what happens.
Well, if they're watching the show right now, I'm sure that they will go online and get their application forms in. So if you are watching us from all the other countries in Africa at the moment, there's a big championship happening on the 1st of April. So that's just a little message going out to the other countries. Of course, another event that's coming up, Mark, is the Inner City Baseball Championships, Baseball 5 champs happening in Gauteng. There's another big one there for baseball. I mean, Baseball 5 has just absolutely, as we predicted, it's exploded. Everybody's doing it now.
That's fantastic, and we're very fortunate. We have excellent coaching staff. Probably one of the best in the world. With America Jumo and Haley that helps him. And the Inner City Festival obviously takes place in Gauteng. And last year when we did that, it was very, very successful. And obviously it's just expanding. And as you know, on our website, we invite people to enroll with Baseball 5. And, it's just expanding, and, we certainly predict that it's going to be, I think in a year's time, probably be the fastest growing sport in South Africa.
Question from Wbsc Baseball Club. I'm not sure if you're able to, but there's a question if you want to answer it otherwise. 2024, 2025 qualifiers. What are the plans? Too early to tell.
Is it World Cup qualifiers?
Wbsc, if you are watching Wbsc, unfortunately it's not a name here, just says Wbsc Baseball Club. So
I'm assuming it's qualifiers, World Cup qualifiers.
Yeah.
We part of World Baseball Africa division. So obviously World Baseball Africa, organize qualifiers these days. It's obviously very, very sort of young for them to organize these things. So. But we have to wait for their program, and obviously we always, bid to try and host some of these qualifiers. But we try and give as much input as possible, but that's not always easy because obviously we try and protect South African baseball and encourage that. But obviously the African Baseball Executive have other ideas.
We'll wait and see what they say. Yes, clarification there was World. All right, Marc, final question. This coming week, I believe, with all of the Baseball 5 growth in South Africa, there's a number of clinics happening around the country. There's clubs signing up at the moment. There's coaches signing up. I believe that there's going to be a little bit of activity for Baseball 5s in the Cape Town region.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so part of our, part of our development program with Baseball 5 is obviously, to have America Jumo go around the country and assist the provinces and districts to develop Baseball 5. So this weekend, he's obviously flying into Cape Town early on Saturday morning, and he'll be at the availability of Western Cape Baseball. To promote Baseball 5, in the province. But from what I've received is that it's mainly going to be around Cape Town. So Saturday and Sunday will be mainly in the metro, and then I think Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, he'll be doing a lot of development work in some of the townships to promote Baseball 5 in the township. So he'll be in Cape Town for basically 5 days. Right.
Okay. So Baseball 5's pouring out at the moment, and if anybody that is watching, don't forget you can go to the sabaseball.co.za website and find out more. Marc, I think we'll leave it at that. We know that one of our terrifying factors currently, not sure what the president said during his presidential address, but it is of course load shedding happening around, and we would hate to lose you. This has already been an interview that has probably taken you way past your bedtime. And so although there's many people that wonder if Marc Moreau actually ever sleeps. But we'll leave it at that, and we'll say thanks very much. And of course, everybody that's watching right now, I'm sure that everybody's super grateful for all of that. Okay, there's a last question here from John O'Fallon. Says, has any coastal teams thrown their hats in the door for next year's tournament? All right. If you want to have, we're not sure about the hat throwing and coastal teams and tournament. So, but you want to give that a go?
A lot of that, JP, depends on the language at the bar. So he's just got to play his cards right. And
right.
But before we go, JP, I just want to encourage anybody that's actually on the show this evening. I think one must actually realize that that Baseball 5 is a youth Olympic sport and an approved Olympic sport, and in a few years' time there's going to be the Youth Olympic Games, which will take place in Dakar. And this year there is a youth World Cup taking place. And in May, there is the African Youth Qualifier, World Cup qualifier that is going to be taking place in Ghana. And as South African baseball, we obviously intend on attending that qualifier. And we're actually working backwards. So if we as a national federation want to select the best possible team, we're basically saying that we have to select a national team by the end of March. And we've asked all the provinces, and hoping they've asked all the districts to activate Baseball 5 as much as possible, because we want each province to have their district championships, and so that we can witness these baseball provincial district championships, so that we can select, players that could be, selected for the national youth team. And the youth team is basically between the age of 15 and 18. That's the age group for the World Baseball Club qualifiers.
So just sum that up for me in terms of your request for the folks that are watching at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, our request is to activate, clubs, kids, juniors, universities, tertiary education, everywhere to activate baseball. We want to select the best possible 15 to 18-year-olds. We want to expose them to the game of Baseball 5 and select, have an opportunity of witnessing their district championships or their trials, so that we can select the strongest possible, team to basically participate, in the Africa World Cup qualifier for Baseball 5, which will take place in Ghana in May. So my request is really to, go out there. We as South African baseball are, pushing the provinces to activate, and they need to push the districts. But I think the clubs need to play their part as well. And we want to select the best possible youth team, and we don't want to leave anybody behind. So the more word we can spread about Baseball 5. And get excited, and get the best players to participate. It's going to be benefiting South African baseball, and as we've done exceptionally well with the senior World Cup. We came 7th there, and are currently African championship. So it's there's a certain level that we are expecting from our youth team as well. So. We need to select the best players to represent our country and to maintain our African champions, status, and qualify for the World Cup. So it's my sort of invite to everybody to get excited about it and try and promote Baseball 5. It's obviously a beautiful game, and it's fast, it's dynamic, and it's girls and boys play together. So it's lovely, it's and very exciting, very fast, and we're in the top 10 in the world, that's undoing, so and we haven't played Baseball 5 for long, so I think we all need to get really excited and behind this initiative.
It is very exciting, Marc. We'll leave it at that, we'll hopefully catch up with you again soon. I'm sure everybody in the chat room, if you are watching us, will say good night. Clifton Barnes says, we're waiting for the dates for the UFS for the Baseball 5. Oh, that's for Free State, Clifton, for the Baseball 5 coaching clinic. So as soon as that happens, we'll publish it on the southafricanbaseball.co.za website. Marc, we'll leave it at that. We'll say to you good night, and can't wait for the next one.
Yep, good. Thank you very much, and goodbye to everybody else. Okay, thank you.
There we go, folks. President of Baseball South Africa, Mr. Marc Moreau. We're super excited about the Dominican connection, as it has now been coined, so to speak, the phrase, the Dominican connection. Everybody's waiting for this. Everybody's now waiting to see what comes next. Very exciting. Fantastic opportunities. The amount of MLB players that is coming out of such a small country is quite extraordinary, and we will keep talking about it here on the podcast. Remember, if you are watching right now, please subscribe to the channel, push the like button on the video, and ring that little bell that you see in the corner there, because that'll give you an auto notification. For all of those of you that are watching or talking to us in the chat zone, we're super grateful for you joining us every week. the viewership gets slightly bigger, and every week the conversation engagement keeps getting a little bit bigger. Jono Follion will be joining us next week. We're also looking to speak to, he's of course Mandela Bay in the Eastern Cape. We're of course looking to catch up with Dean McKinnon next week, president of Gauteng Baseball. Hopefully will be telling us about the National Baseball Champs that's coming up. We'll again be catching up with Americo Juma and Jason Bell about the Inner City Championships. And in fact, next week, if we have half a chance, we'll bring you a couple of photographs and video clips from the Baseball 5 clinic that is taking place in Cape Town and around the Western Cape next week. So, like I said, like, subscribe, and ring the bell. And to all of you that's joined us, thank you very much. We look forward to catching you again next week, same time, same place. Have a fantastic baseball weekend, so to speak. Bye-bye.